All right, if everybody will take their seat, we'll get started. Lisa, the alarm's
I know, do you have a key?
I do, it's stuck in my purse over there. All right, again, I would like to thank everybody for being here tonight. We have several things we're going to go over, but first I'm going to ask Marvin to come forward. He would like to address the group for a moment.
You get Nick's head.
Well, good evening, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, it's Marvin Jones is my name, and I'm recently elected president of the POA here. I want to thank everyone for coming out. I believe this is probably the first town hall ever for the POA. If it isn't the first, it's the first in a very long time. So appreciate you coming out. Please feel free to speak up and say what's on your mind.
And I'm Becky Perrin, Executive Director, for those of you that I've not met. Please come by the office. The coffee pot is always rolling, and a lot of times we have some very nice people that bring us some pastries. So come on by and let's visit. Tonight we have three things that we would like to go over. And the first one, at the last board meeting, Marvin and the board talked a little bit about some new committees that are coming on board. And so those committees have been developed, and I believe they have selected some chairs, and they're going to start rolling on it. So first of all, we have an election committee. And this committee is going to meet when it's needed. It's not going to be that every month you're going to attend a meeting. It's when the election is coming up and things that we need to do. Some of the things that they're going to be looking at is how do we make the process go a little bit smoother than it has in the past. We know, for those of you that came to the last election, when we had the meeting, there was a long lull in between while they were counting the ballots. So what can we do to keep from sitting around, which was nice talking to people, but how can we use that time to be a little bit more productive? So that committee is going to spend some time working on how to make the process flow, how to make it easier, and make everybody that's involved with it feel comfortable with the process that's going on. We're also going to include a bulkhead committee, and I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, well, I want to be on that because we have so many bulkheads that need to be looked at, and we do, 31 miles of it. But really what this committee is going to do is they're going to do a lot of research for us. What is the newest, what is the best technique that we need to be looking at to make these repairs? You'll research other communities to find out what they've been doing, how successful have they been, is there some new poly something product that will help make things last longer, or lessons learned, don't do it this way because we did and it did not work right. So this committee is going to do a lot of research trying to figure out what is the best way for us to repair and keep our bulkheads maintained. Government Relations is going to be a group that is going to do just that. They're going to work with the government entities in our area to connect us, and that's what it is, a big connection type thing. Who do we need to go to help make this island a better place? Or if we hit a roadblock, who is it we need to talk to help move us forward with the issues that we have here and help get things solved? So that's one of the other committees. Then there's a resource team, and that's not actually a committee. They will not be meeting. And we have sent messages out through email, through our Facebook, and the email blast. And on that committee, what that resource team is a group of people who have professional experience and input, and you're on a list. So if we need to repair Copa de Bar, a boat ramp, and we need to look and see what would be the best way to do it, then if you have some expertise working with asphalt or cement or engineering or whatever it is that we need, you have given us your name and your contact information and what area of expertise that you can lend to helping us solve our problems. So it's really going to be a nice addition to the POA to be able to tap into the resources. It doesn't mean we expect you to get out there and do the work, but you can lead us into the direction that will help us solve problems that we come in faced with. So that takes care of our committees. There on the table over here is a stack of applications. So if you're interested, please take one, or you can go onto the website, fill it out, and send it to us. And we'll be contacting the leads of those teams, the chairs, and giving them the applications, and they'll be setting up times to interview and discuss your role to be on the committee. So I really encourage everybody to take a look at those. Those are the 4 new ones. We have other committees. Please take and be a part of the community to help us solve the issues and keep the island moving in the right direction. So I thank you, because I expect everybody to fill one out and turn it in. Tonight we're also going to talk about our safety issues here on the island. And we have a safety committee, and this committee has met several times, and they have invited a couple of agencies to come and make presentations as to what they can offer us here on the island. And I have heard from people that have different views of what they would like to see. And so tonight we're going to get an opportunity to talk to 2 different groups. They're going to make a presentation to you, and then you're going to have the opportunity to ask them questions. And again, on the table over there is a packet that shows you some comparison of the 2 groups. It's not a completed document. It's kind of a living, growing thing. As we find out more information, we add to it after tonight's presentation. I'm sure we'll go in and make some changes to it again. But it just kind of gives you a little bit more information of what you might be looking for. I have heard from others, we just need this, it needs to be here, and I've heard from others, don't want it, don't need it. So this is a great opportunity for everybody to share the reason you might want it, or your concern, or if you don't. So we want to hear from everybody what they want to see, what they want here on the island. So with that said, I would like to invite Officer Janko and James Alexander to please come forward and take a seat. And you can make your presentation first, and you can use the microphone, you can sit, whatever feels more comfortable, and then y'all can have seats, and then y'all can do your presentation after he's finished. Thank y'all very much.
I'll sit down. Thanks all for having me. My name is Officer Paul Janko. I've worked as a police officer since 2000, for the last 17 years. I'm 40 years old, got wisdom teeth pulled on Tuesday last week, so just bear with me for a minute. Other than that, I've worked for 3 different agencies. I've been with CCPD since 2010. My first agency was with City of Driscoll. Same thing, same police duties, same thing. Then I worked for the airport from 2005 to 2010, and then EMS, fire, and police. So from there, I made my last change, and I decided where I want to live, where I want, which is the island. Married someone out here locally, so this is where I have been since then. Within the department of CCPD, I've been a field training officer for like the last maybe 6 classes. Right, currently we're now in training programs, so I'm a field training officer for that. Stuff like that, I'll pass on to some other stuff. But what I'm here to talk to you about is what's best for the island. And so I'm glad to have me here. Let's see where we go. I work off crime data. So I'm assigned to your district, and Bravo district is consisting of Staples, east all the way as far as you can drive, okay? Which is a huge area, okay? I'm fully aware we have tons of calls for service. I work graveyards Thursday through Sunday for my entire time here. So I can tell you, working graveyards on weekends by choice. And taking a lot of calls, and I can tell you sometimes response time is not what I would want it to be, okay? I'm not saying it's bad, it's not saying it's good, but it's just not what I would want it to be. And the fact is, priority calls change. If someone gets hurt, a gun's introduced, weapons are used, then it's going to change the order of the calls. So on average, it might be 45 minutes, or it could be 3 minutes of waiting, or it could be longer. My point is this, is that we're considering about adding extra security to the island. Is it necessary? Everyone wants security right now, they really, really do. I can agree with that. Now, what do we want our security to do? That's the issue. So, what I do is this, is I work off crime data. So, that's why I encourage everybody, no matter how little it is, to report everything. I don't care if it's let's just use something silly, but like a barking dog, which doesn't sound silly at first to me, but a barking dog could be an indicator of something else. If your car's broken into and nothing is taken that you noticed, I would still want you to report it. We have different ways you can do it. And you don't have to go through me to do it, but you can go through our telephone reporting unit. You can go through, you can ask an officer to do it. You can call our non-emergency number. So there's many different, or you can even do it online too. So you can do an online report as well. So we have many different ways you can report an incident. Based on all that crime data, that's where we specialize or hone our patrols. That's exactly what we do now. Doesn't matter, every officer does that, should do that, I should say. From there, that's how we know if we have a problem. Like someone just got with me today at the gym and said, hey, there's 20 cars that broken into on, not Gypsy, but Alpine Cantata, Dinah, I believe, or one of those, Escapade. Yeah, thank you. So I didn't know that because he didn't report it. He finally made his report today. So it's things like that. If we can report things in a timely manner, that's when you can pretty much reduce most things. Okay, and that's based on crime data. And I think anything's reportable. And some people I hear have heard too many times is that I don't want to waste your time. It's not a waste of time. We all pay our taxes in here. You all should expect more and should get more. Okay, 100%. You should get more from your police officers. You really, really should. You should get more from what you pay for. Okay. And then from there, I look at local trends. So, just to name a couple, or there's this one where jugging, where you go to a bank, you take out money, someone follows you, blends in with traffic during the day, and then when you get home and you make a sandwich or whatnot, or just go into the restroom or anything like that, and then they break into your car and take your money. Okay. It's a crime trend going around. That's one example of a trend. If we notice that, for example, most of our break-ins, and I can say this for a fact, most of our break-ins for vehicles are unlocked vehicles. I'm not blaming the person for leaving it locked. I don't think it's wise that we should leave things unlocked or leave an open garage or not turn on a porch light or not do things that, in my words, that are respectful or neighborly. Is if we just did those simple things, we would have less problems. Okay? And that goes back into awareness. So if we can just remind each other and be good neighbors to each other, then that's what we do. So what we do is this, is if you wanted to use off-duty CCPD officers, okay, like myself, which I don't have as much time as I would like, but what I would do is I'd hire select people that work like me, that know me, and that trust me, and will take orders from me, okay? And so I'm very, very selective, I really am. In fact, I'm almost to the point I'm too picky. And I want to know everything. That's just how I am. And so I would pick people that I can trust, that I already have an idea, and I have a small list, based on what the POA's days and hours they would like. And we would focus back on crime data. So say, for example, which is hypothetical, 1 week where you want us 2 days a week, next week or the next month you want us 4 days a week. So something like that. We can tailor it to what you want. And that's what I like about it. It doesn't have to be a set schedule, it doesn't have to be, obviously we can have some schedule, we're gonna have to schedule people to work, and that's gonna be a problem too, because they have a schedule and they also have a home life themselves, so there is some consideration there too. But in general, there's no contract with me. What you see is what you get. So from there, we hand out awareness program. We'll go around, check your doors, when safely. We're not gonna get shot. I understand that we're gonna try to ring your doorbell, knock on your door, and tell you to close your garage, not because I wanna wake you up and just see your face at 4 o'clock in the morning. because I just don't want to go into the garage, because what if you woke up and heard something stirring about, and then took matters as you should. So just things like that. So we're going to do things in a team. We'll have 2 officers for safety out here, one kind of dividing the island and kind of north and south sector, call it, just run off the top of my head, on white cap, so you can divide it like that. Once again, work on crime data, any kind of special considerations that we may see. We'll leave a little note on your car, or door, say we stop by, something like that. I'm not going to take too much time because I know everyone's ask questions and move on. But that's basically it, and I'll probably remind you something else when we get lots of questions. But I'll leave it open to you guys.
I think what we'll do is, will y'all let me know, do you want to hear both presentations and then ask questions, or ask questions after?
Yeah, I'll hear them both.
Hear them both?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
that'd be great, great.
Thank you, Officer Jenkins. Appreciate that. So, good evening, everybody. My name is James Alexander. I am the Director of Operations for SEAL Security. I'd like to start out by introducing the guys that I have here with me tonight. This is Major Caligari and K9 Jack. This is Officer Hidalgo, K9 Storm, Officer Perez, and Officer Mendoza. So tonight I want to tell you a little bit about SEAL Security, and first off, I want to thank you for having us here tonight, and for Officer Janko. We specialize in community patrols. And so to tell you a little bit about our program and about SEAL's background, we got started in the security industry about 17 years ago in the Gulf of Aden, protecting cargo ships from pirates. We were the first company to actually use K9 on the vessels before they allowed weapons. So we have a lot of highly trained officers, prior military, prior law enforcement officers that work for us. We ventured out with using the K9 into more of a neighborhood type patrol program, because we realize in most communities there are a lot of areas that you can't get a patrol vehicle, and so those areas usually don't ever see security. Our officers get out on foot, and we provide our communities with very highly proactive, very visual patrols, whether they're in their vehicle, they've got highly marked vehicles, or if they're out on foot or working their K9 in the areas that they can't get their patrol vehicles. We have a 24-hour operations center who monitors every officer on every patrol, and their GPS by car and on person. So whether they're doing foot patrols or in their vehicles, they're all GPSed every 4.5 minutes. That accountability is provided to you guys for our patrols. So every minute we're accountable to you for us being here. Now we do have a requirement of 8 hours on a minimum shift per day, and that is due to the fact that we keep the same officer patrolling your community. We believe that by you knowing your officer, the officer knowing you, it just makes for better security. He knows your goings and comings. You get to know him. He knows your vehicles. He knows the landscapers that are coming in and out. It just makes for better security. So therefore, we have to have minimum hours that we're in the neighborhood. All of our guys are licensed through the Texas Department of Public Safety as level 3 security officers, meaning they are certified and licensed to carry firearms, tasers, OC spray, baton, and then they're also K9 certified. Now we use K9 out on the patrols because they're highly visible, but they're also for officer protection. If they're out patrolling at 2 in the morning and they're approached by someone, that K9 is going to protect that officer. But he's going to protect that officer in a non-lethal way. Okay? Anything that we do, we want to keep it as non-lethal as possible. So having that K9 with him, he's able to get out and feel confident to get out and patrol in areas that most officers wouldn't go out by themselves. Okay? All of our vehicles are highly marked vehicles. If we do a 40-hour contract with you guys or more, it'll say North Padre POA Patrol on our vehicles. That will be designated to you. Our officers work for this community. They do not work anywhere else. So therefore, during that contract, we are yours. Okay? So we're accountable to you for every minute that we're here. We do not leave for any reason, and we will patrol the community, your community only. Now, back to the operations center. As I said, we have operators that it runs a lot like a 911 dispatch center. we issue a hotline number to your community. It is only for your community. You can call that number at any time and request your officer for any reason. If you think you haven't seen your officer, you can call the operator, hey, would you have my officer come by? I'd like to talk to him for a minute. Or I'd like to report a suspicious vehicle, suspicious person, whatever the case may be. Vacation watch, if you guys go on vacation, and a lot of homeowners that own here that maybe rent out, or they're not here during the winter months or summer months or whatever the case may be, they can call our dispatch center, send in a vacation watch. The officers are monitoring that property while they're gone. So any need that you have, our operators are in constant contact with the officers. But another good resource for us, if we're out here patrolling your contract, is that hotline number needs to be listed secondary behind 911, okay? Because if your home gets broken into and that alarm goes off, we definitely want 911 to call, right? But secondary, you want to have your patrol that is out here dispatched as well, because our response time is only going to be within a minute or two, because we're here, we're not going to leave, we're going to be in the community. So your response time to something like that's going to be very quick. Now, our officers are certified, as I said, level 3 officers. They are able to make arrests for felonies and breach of peace misdemeanors. We patrol over 120 communities we're contracted for. That covers us for any kind of thefts, any kind of vandalisms, home burglaries, anything like that. If my guys catch them, they are gonna hook them up, and we're gonna call CCPD out to deal with that incident. Okay. We're not here to replace law enforcement in any shape, form, or fashion. We're here to assist you guys by adding a highly visual, proactive patrol to your neighborhood. That if somebody comes in, they're going to know that you have security, because either my officers are out working their canine or they're in their vehicle, they're going to know we're here. And our guys are, as I said, they're GPS, so they're constantly moving throughout the neighborhood, and they don't leave. So you're going to be seeing these patrols coming through all the time. You can reach out to them at any time for any reason and have them stop by just by calling that number. So hopefully that'll help deter a lot of this crime. And that's our main focus, okay? We're not here for traffic. We're not here to make arrests. We're here to proactively deter crime, and that's what we want. We know it's going to happen. We just don't want it happening inside our contract. And so we'll do anything that we can as far as increasing patrols, looking at crime data, as Officer Janko said. That's crucial to know what kind of crime is happening in your community, and then gear up around that. So. A couple other things that I would recommend if you guys are not having security meetings every month. We come out, we provide a very highly detailed report of incidents that we've taken care of during the time that we're here. Information, our reporting department is incredible. You guys will get feedback from what's going on a daily basis as the officer is patrolling. So if an officer's out patrolling today, if he has an incident of whatever nature it is, that incident report goes out immediately to the board, and then the information then follows into a DOR that we bring out in a very nice detailed report every month to meet with you guys and discuss at that time what is taking place and what's going on and what changes need to be made. Because when you talk about security for your community, this is not hire someone and take care of it. This is a joint effort between the residents of this community and your security provider, whether it be CCPD or SEAL Security. This is a team effort. And so your input and the information that you give us at these meetings are critical, because we don't live here, all right? You guys do. And if there's certain things that we need to change, then we want to make changes every month to make sure that we're staying on top of any kind of activity or things that you're seeing or problems that were taking place. That's how you can maintain a good security program in your neighborhood. Any questions? Yes, sir.
The alarm systems that we have now, if you get the contract, do we need to change the reporting system from the alarm company back to you as soon as it happens? Because right now, CCIS,
The only change that you would need to make would be the number that I provided you for your hotline number for North Padre POA hotline.
Okay.
That number would need to be listed secondary behind 911 with your alarm company. That's the only change you would have to make. I would highly recommend that you pre-program that number into your cell phones. If you're out jogging, out running, if you see something, hit number 2 on your cell phone, it immediately dials your security hotline, have the officer dispatched to you. So there's a lot of things that you can use that hotline number for. But as far as answering your question, secondary behind 911.
In the insurance industry, this is important to all of us, is that the reports that we're talking about, the 30-day reports, they go in the queue into Atlanta. Are you doing the same thing? Are you reporting back into Atlanta with your reports? This affects our rates, that's why I'm asking.
I'm sorry, what, can you repeat that?
You have to speak into the mic.
The reports that you're filing on a monthly basis,
Okay.
the 30-day reports, normally the police department, those go to Atlanta, it's called the Q system. Are you doing the same thing?
No, sir.
Because that's what the insurance industry uses for rates.
Okay. No, sir. Those reports come straight to our board meeting. So if we have a security meeting here monthly, those reports that are they stay here.
Okay.
A lot of information in those reports contain information that need to be watered down before they go out to the general public, such as names, addresses, types of incidents, photos, videos, audio. We gather all that intel. So all of that needs to be gone through before it leaves the board.
And one other quick question, how do you feel, and not compared to this side, how do you feel about using force, deadly force?
I don't like it at all. I think that that's why we put so many non-lethal tools in the officer's hands as far as training. They start out with training in verbal judo. We want to de-escalate the situation in the most non-lethal form as possible. And you'll find that we're probably one of the only security companies that have added the K9 as another non-lethal tool because we want to keep every incident from becoming a lethal incident.
Are you carrying stun guns?
We do carry tasers.
Okay. That's all.
First, I want to thank you all for coming. The question is, I'd like to hear from both sides. Let's look at two scenarios. Let's say you roll upon a truck that's being vandalized. Somebody's breaking into a truck. And let's pick the other one as a domestic dispute. Those are two very different things. Please tell us how you would react, how you would handle the situation, what your protocols are.
Okay. As far as rolling up on someone breaking into a vehicle, our officers are prepared to make an arrest. The first thing that we do is we notify what we call GSAP, that is our dispatch center. We alert the operators that the officers are walking into this particular incident. They give a description of the vehicle, a description of the perpetrators, and then they immediately are on the phone calling CCPD. Our guys will then intervene and make the arrest if they're breaking into someone's vehicle. But as far as the officers having to handle that situation using the radio and dealing with the incident, they don't have to do that. They're able to deal with the incident that they have in front of them. Our GSAT or our operations center is then calling CCPD. And as I said, we're not here to replace law enforcement. We are going to be calling law enforcement just like anybody else because that's their job. We're regulated at a certain level by the security industry. Anything above that goes to CCPD, but we are not going to burn resources for something minor that we can handle. The second scenario, what were you asking me on the second one?
Domestic dispute.
Domestic dispute, we're immediately going to dispatch CCPD. We're going to try to de-escalate the situation as best we can using verbal judo, but we are going to definitely call CCPD on that.
Okay, first part I'll do vandalism or possible breaking into a vehicle. Since we're going to work in two vans or two units, just get on the radio and tell them what I'm doing, where I'm at, they'll dispatch, and then they'll send another unit, and then my partner, whoever it might be, if I was working, will back me up and we'll go from there. So it's very similar. I would just call dispatch basically on the radio. From there, I'm in full uniform, and then we have every police right or police powers to arrest and to process the scene. All the officers I have working for me will have cameras, will have body cameras, will have rifles, will have tasers, and they'll even have fingerprint kits too. There's nothing, I will tell you this like this, there's nothing that we do off duty that we can't do on duty, if that makes sense. So they'll have every resource, and they can and will do the report. We're not going to stick it on a beat officer if necessary. To talk about the vandalized vehicle or possible break-in, I'll call it that. For the other domestic or possible family violence assault, we're well versed in that. We have a duty bound, so we will have to engage and do the same thing, get on the radio, get out, we'll be in full uniform, just like what I'm wearing right now, same rights, same power, same everything. So we'll handle it too. We'll call for a beat officer to get here, and if they get here, which they should, they will, they'll be dispatched. My partner will get here, and then we'll handle it and go accordingly. And it can go a number of different ways, but let's get on the radio and handle it. That's kind of simple.
Officer Janko, are you going to use police cars or unmarked cars?
Okay, we'll use unmarked cars, unfortunately. They will not be labeled, okay? They just can't. Our policy is very strict on off-duty. There's a lot of things we cannot do. Just to touch on it a little bit, because I'm sure there's some questions that may not think of right now, is can't stop you for a traffic violation or for a personal vehicle. We can't. Not going to. It violates policy, not to mention it's bad business anyways. Too many things can happen. And that goes back to earlier, is we're not here for that. We really aren't. I don't think you want us there for that. Now I know there are other concerns too that we can address as needed or in a different way, such as like, I'll mention it because it's a big thing for me too, is the golf carts. The golf carts bother me, they really do. There's underage kids that ride mom and dad's golf carts, goof around on it, and they just shouldn't do that. They can't do that. But yes, if we knew where they lived, which is not too hard, the island's kind of small and kind of big at the same time too, we'll handle that too. Okay. Now, sometimes just having a sit-down conversation is all we need to do. Now, of course, mom and dad complying is another story too, but I can't foresee everything. So, but no, there are other quality of life concerns that we can address. And this is the point, is that whoever you pick, I don't really care, okay? But sometimes the patrol officer, we've all seen it, we've all been on the other side of it, where the radio's going off, there's not enough time, the lieutenant's saying, what's taking so long on this call? You have an arrest, you gotta move on to the next call. Not to mention, a major crash will come out or something else will come out. So you don't have sometimes the coverage that I would like on the item. And that's what it comes down to, adding extra coverage tailored to what you guys want.
My question is, if you guys are both looking at the data for the crime on the island and you cover for Staples out here, how is the data that you're both collecting and reporting on getting rolled into data for the island and for our county, for this part of the county? Or is it getting rolled in, and is it going to count?
Good question. Yes, it does. And what it comes down to is crime stats or crime reports. Anyone can get this off of a public record, basically, off the PD website. It is. Now, of course, I'm an insider, and I'll say that, so yes, I know more or less what's going on. I get all the PD work emails, so I know exactly what's happening in downtown or in Annabelle or what else was happening recently. But a lot of us, actually, the home invasions has been taking up a lot of our time. So things of that nature. So where, just to touch on it a little bit, it's like the home invasions, where some of our key players in that were in the block. You know, it's already on the news, so I mean, it's not a crime to say it, so I can say it. But, so it's things like that. So it all ties in together. It's all com stats. It's all the same reporting information. But to answer a little more detail to it, is that I work your area, know your area, so it's, you definitely have the officers that we pick live in your area or work your area. And
But
so,
is that data going to get rolled into the stats that we can see on the web, that we do look at
yes,
on the web?
everything that comes from, that I get and that we report will be rolled into that.
And same thing for the SEAL team?
Well, anything that becomes an incident at that level, yes, it's going to be reported to CCPD because CCPD will be called out. You know, as I said when we first started, we're not here to replace law enforcement. We are a proactive security company to deter crime. So we're not going, if you're hiring somebody to react or be reactive and respond to incidents, then the police is probably the way you want to go. If you're looking for a highly proactive to deter crime, that's where we come in. But as far as reporting anything over a certain level of an incident, burglary, car theft, anything like that, it's going to be reported to CCPD. So in the end result, that information is still going to be reported. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you talked about an 8-hour shift. Are those staggered? Are they 8 to 4 or?
We can work it's a straight 8-hour shift. Now those time frames we move around based on crime data. Sometimes maybe nights are better than days. We're able to change on the fly. So if a trend comes in, like we have in a lot of our communities, we'll have guys come through the steel wheels and tires and tailgates. Okay, they blow in and they blow out. All right, so you've got to be ready to adjust time frames to address those issues. But we, as I said, we stick to a straight hour shift, but that can be moved day or night or whatever we need. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow, not five minutes back. How does the whole booking process work? So say that you find somebody doing something and you're going to arrest them. Is it a matter of taking them downtown or where to go? Or do you just call somebody out to come get them and patrols continue?
Well, based on some private security laws, we're governed by what we can and can't do as far as arrest. We can make the arrest, but a law enforcement officer has to come and transport. Okay, if we catch someone breaking into your home, we can make the arrest. CCPD will come. They'll take over the case from that point, and they'll go to jail with them. Then we don't book or transport.
How does that work for CCTV?
That's a very good question. In fact, that's the one I had in my head the whole time. Of course, I'm going to be very frank with you. I don't know. There's many concerns, and there's many concerns I have in my head too about it. Like, say, for example, there's a use of force incident, and then now I'm going to say it because I've been stuck with it, and off-duty sticks us with it.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I ain't taking that. Being honest with you, I'm not taking that liability. I'm not putting it back on the city. I'm not putting it on the taxpayers. That's what I would say. But I don't know. But still, let me say this. Out of all respect and fairness, I don't know if they have a memorandum with CCPD that says we will do this. I don't know. And you know what? And I imagine they do, but I can't speak for it because I just don't know it.
So, I'm Benjamin Perez. I worked for the CCPD for 11 and a half years. I just transferred from the CCPD to SEAL Security in November. So, November I retired honorably with PD. I hold my master's peace officer license. I was actually a training instructor for Officer Janko. So we know each other very well. We work hand in hand with the CCPD in arrests and reports and all those things. What happens is, right now we're working at HEB and things like that, and y'all seen it on the news. The assistant chief came out, told you that they were really looking forward to working with us and working on those lines. Today we even had a stolen vehicle that we found, so we call CCPD out, they come out and they take care of it. So all that works hand in hand. We get a shoplifter, somebody that's drunk, we get somebody along those lines, we arrest them. CCPD does respond. They will take the necessary action. They will arrest them if they need to, and then they will transport them down. So we do work hand in hand with that.
Are we going to have a written reciprocal agreement with the city to make sure that that happens?
Well,
when we need them?
It's in the criminal code. Anyone can make an arrest for a felony or breach of peace misdemeanor. The only difference is we're trained, we have the tools, we have the insurance, and we have the equipment, okay? But it's in the criminal code, so yes, it is already written.
I was law enforcement for 36 years. I know where CCTV stands. As security, where does the liability fall when somebody is injured, a suspect is injured when you're making an arrest?
We have $15 million worth of insurance to cover the POA and the board of directors. So anything that would happen on our end falls on us.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
I'm looking at the cost, and how many people does that include?
One officer is $32 an hour for 40-hour week, depending on the budget, you know, that you guys want to put together. That's up to you. I don't know what your budget is, and that includes highly marked patrol vehicle, K9 officer, victim and general liability coverage, 24-hour operations center. That's inclusive of everything: fuel, maintenance, nothing extra.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What local neighborhoods around here do you have contracts with right now?
We're new to Corpus. HED brought us here. We have over probably 120 communities in Houston, which is where we're based out of. You can pull us up on the internet and look at some of the information on our neighborhoods that we patrol. We're also patrol every management district inside of Harris County, so we work very closely with Houston Police Department, Harris County Sheriff's Office. Our guys are out citywide. And as I said, we're in about 120 communities, several mud districts, which encumber many communities. And then HEB, we probably do 30 of those locations growing. So. Yes, sir.
Do you use only a 40-hour week?
No, sir, we can do more.
Or less?
We don't do less.
Thank you.
This question is for both of you. What type of training do you provide your staff that deals with like racial profiling, cultural differences? How do you address those issues?
So we have a 12-year seasoned police officer that does our training for us. If anyone calls into our call center, our GSAT, and if they can't speak English, we're a member of Crime Stoppers, so we have an interpreter service that we can have on the line within just a matter of seconds. They can interpret over 200 different languages. So we're able, if the officers are on the ground, and a lot of our officers in Houston, we use this service because if our guys are out patrolling, they know we have this service, and they'll stop one of our officers and actually call in and use this service because there's so many different people in Houston and other areas. But as far as training, you know, we have extensive training, you know, as far as getting along with any area, but we try to put those things in place to where communication is the most important thing as far as being able to communicate, and so that's what we really hone in on.
All of our training is done through CCPD. Like I just did our in-service for the week, 40 hours, beginning of April. So all of our CCPD officers go through training at the training facility on Corona. As far as talking about racial profiling, courtesy of justice, things of that nature, we go through all of that, mandated by the state. I think it's the same thing, mandated for security guards. It's the same exact thing, to my knowledge. But no, all of our training is done through CCPD. So all of our officers will be CCPD that work for us out here. That's what it is.
I have a question, but no microphone. That's okay though, I can talk loudly. No, I can talk.
But they can't hear you back there.
Okay, I want to ask you a question, Mr. Alexander. For other communities that you have people working, we have 5,400 odd properties here. Officer Jenko had said maybe north and south of Whitecap, we tend to divide the island that way sometimes. How many officers or police, SEAL unit would you recommend we have?
Well, my recommendation was one officer per 800 homes, okay? But budget-wise, it's going to depend on what you guys, how much security that you want. I mean, how proactive do you want to be? I don't know your budget. I don't know what kind of dollars you have to invest in a security program. But you know, just from looking at the maps and the areas that I've seen so far, my recommendation was 3 officers. But I think that you could probably get by running 2. But my recommendation was 3.
Then I have an add-on question, because I don't know what the percentage is on the island, but a pretty good percentage of our homes are unoccupied at any given time, because not everybody is a full-time resident.
Okay.
So how would you factor that in?
Well, I mean, we still look at, you know, one officer per 800 homes. Now, I don't know as far as the percentage, if it's actually 60% or more, it could be more, I don't know. That's something that the board would have to give me the information, and so we can determine what the best way to proceed on that. Maybe 2 officers, I don't know. Yes, ma'am.
This question is for Officer Janko. Given the state of affairs of the city of Corpus Christi with their operating with such a deficit, I'm sure that the mayor is going to ask everybody to do more with less, and that includes the police department.
Sure.
So with that, the officers that you have may be covering other shifts. How would that affect us?
It would not. The city's budget does not affect what you guys want to do. Okay. The off-duty officers that I would want or want to work out here, if they can work out here, great. If you'll tell me this, if they can do their schedule or not. To be honest with you, the only changes that I've seen on patrol is just basically turn off your car and cut down fuel costs, which fuel costs affects everybody. Minor little tweaks like that, but other than that, it wouldn't affect any day-to-day operations out here for off-duty wise. Okay. You will still have your patrols. We're not cutting down on cars. To my knowledge, I can't speak for the city. I'm only speaking for it as an individual here. But from what I've seen, working still, we haven't cut down anything for response times, response resources. There's no reduction of force at all, from my seeing, ever. I don't think that's going to be effective. Yes, the budget is very, very important, but as far as public safety goes, once again, I don't speak for the city, just by something I've seen, I haven't seen any difference at all, despite what the news or social media says.
I was reading through this handout. I don't know who made it. Somebody did a great job on it. Thanks. Thank you. Under safety escort for SEAL, it says, if you're going from one location to another, you can request an escort. Could you expand on that?
Well, and I'll go back to, once we're hired to provide security for your community, we're working for you, okay? We work for you. So if your wife or you need an escort from one area to another, if you're being followed home and you think that someone's following you, all you got to do is press that hotline number and have that officer meet you wherever you're pulling into. If you're pulling into home, but whatever your needs are, and you know, I want to stress to the fact that we're here to provide you high security, proactive security, but we're also here as community service to you as well. So anything that you need of that officer, if you need an escort, if you don't feel safe from one place to another, absolutely utilize that service.
Okay, I have a follow-up question if I could. That's my confusion is if it's proactive, and this is an honest question, I'm not trying to nitpick. If I feel I'm in danger, then it becomes reactive. Hey, you know, I'm coming home, someone's following me, I can call 911, I can call anyone. Does this mean my daughter's going down to the playground, going down to Gypsy Park? Hey, well, you know, she's only 12. Can you guys escort her down there? Is that the kind of thing you do, or is that?
Well, that's you know, you're getting into something that's, you know, we're looking at something that if you feel unsafe, you're not going to let your daughter walk to the park, right?
No.
Okay, so we really that type of scenarios. This is only for something that if you feel that you need an escort, if you feel that suspicious cars parked outside your home and you need to leave your house to get to your car, whatever the case may be, that officer will be there for you. It's not to be used as a babysitter. Okay. Yeah.
Thank y'all for being here. And this is a comment from both of you would be nice. Do you think if we established this security system, one of the things we've been trying to do out here is get more police present. And we started a reporting program and stuff like that. Do you think if we hire a security system or create a security system that we'll get less, police, activity out here or presence out here? Do you think that's something that we should think about? I don't mean to be negative about it. I'm just really interested in what y'all think. And is there a pattern in other areas that y'all are, where the police say, hey, you know, they got that dog security system, you know, and we'll go over this other one.
So how is your patrols now? Are you getting highly visible patrols from CCPD? Are you seeing them frequently?
We think they're 1 car a week.
1 car a week?
We think that they're out here more since the request has been made. I mean, and it's trackable, but I think they're out here more.
Well, I can just tell you from past experience on the communities that we patrol, we work hand in hand with law enforcement, okay? There's certain things that we are allowed to do, and there's certain things that go above our pay grade or that we're legally allowed to do. So therefore, we do work hand in hand with law enforcement, okay? And we're not here, as I said, to replace law enforcement. You know, I can't guarantee you that because we're here, you're gonna see more or you're gonna see less. I don't think that if you were seeing them enough now, we would be sitting here. But, you know, if you hire a security, we're here, we're not leaving. So we're going to be your proactive patrols. We're going to be what's deterring the crime from your community. We don't want to be reacting and be responding to incidents. We want to be proactively deterring them. That's where our focus is going to be. As far as your response times, you know, I can't speak for CCPD whether they're going to increase patrols out here or not. I'm not going to count on it. Okay, I'm gonna gear up and patrol the way that we need to patrol to deter the crime from happening, so I don't have to call CCPD.
Let's talk about patrols. I know I thought about that too when you asked me. I'm gonna say what I feel. No, I don't think by hiring anyone, it would reduce your request, or the POA's request, or the citizen's request, or the island's request, whatever you want to call it. I don't think it would reduce anything, I really don't. Because it doesn't change our beat boundaries. We have 8 beats in Bravo District, all the way from east of Staples. It's 4 beats in town, 2 beats in the bluff, and 2 beats on the island. So if you take 8 people, there's 10 people on my shift, that's where we line up. So that's why sometimes you might see a 2-man unit versus a 1-man unit, something like that. So it's not going to reduce your coverage at all. You're still going to get it, no matter what the budget is, in my opinion. Okay. So of course, you can't speak for the budget, but I mean, still, you have 8 beats. You can't go wrong with that. No minimum expectation. And then you still have, I can't mention that. Sorry, due to my limitations. But you still have the daytime overtime officer that works for the island that does the other stuff. So you still have that coverage. You still have 3 shifts on each day from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. where we shift 1. Shift 2 comes on, I believe, at 11 or 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And then you have graveyards from 9 to 6:30 in the morning, or rather 8:30. So you still have that coverage. You still have overlapping coverage when the calls for service dictate the highest volume. At least that's the way I see it. But no, to answer your question, I don't think any way to go whether you hire every security force out here, put them on off-duty status, it wouldn't affect anything. As a taxpayer, as a person sitting here, as a family out here, I would still want that, okay? And that's the whole idea. I can't speak that. Anyways, no. Sorry, I get too long-winded.
Well, I was just going to say, just to clarify your experience in Houston, like 120 neighborhoods and whatnot, just to clarify your experience, have you seen any change whatsoever with the local police force increasing or decreasing, or is it stay the same up in Houston with all that experience?
Well, my experience as far as dealing with police forces and the shortage that most police agencies have at the moment, patrol officers that you have patrolling out in this area or any other community or any other area, they're not able to do a lot of proactive patrols. You know, they're running calls for service, all right? They get in the car and they're running calls for service. There's not a lot of proactive patrols that these guys are able to do. They just don't have the time to do it. So the communities in Houston, they don't lose their 911 service because they hire us. But we are bringing in the proactive part of what these guys just don't have time, and they're undermanned. They're unable to do it. And so the communities that we patrol, the officers, once we're out patrolling and they realize our capabilities, they really appreciate the fact they have us there, because it is deterring a lot of calls that they would normally be running. Home alarms, suspicious vehicles, suspicious person. You know, those are calls that typically would go into the 911 system, and these guys would have to run. And our guys are able to handle those issues. So it takes a lot of calls and a lot of pressure off of beat officers that are out running these neighborhoods. So anytime that we do need them, they're there. I mean, we work hand in hand with them.
This is just a follow-on to the same issue. I had a meeting with Captain Weber, Officer Janko knows him well, and we talked about this issue of patrols on the island and where the officers are deployed. The one point that he made is this is why it is so important for you to report everything, because those statistics go to an analyst, and that data is what is used to tell the department where they need to deploy their units. For the Bravo district, we have a huge district. And yes, we have units on the island, but if the problem on the island is a stolen pot and the problem in Flower Bluff is a shooting, you know where the units are gonna go. But again, like this, we had talked about, we had an incident recently where someone said, well, they just stole my pot, it's not that big a deal. But as it turns out, it was a really big deal because it was part of a bigger crime situation where when people did start reporting it, they were able to connect all the dots of all the pots that were stolen and arrest the person and move on, and actually get the person to stop doing this type of activity. So one pot doesn't seem like much, but the activity reported does go to an analyst that takes the data very seriously. Chief Markle sat down with me and we went over the crime stats for the island. And they want to make the coverage as much as they possibly can. Officer Janko, do you agree with that? Do you have any further comments?
Yes, and this goes back to what I think we were saying earlier, is report everything. And I don't laugh about the pot, but it reminds me of this other thing where I know about the pot. I handle the pot one. Well, one of the, I call it, well, I title
Yes,
it.
can you clarify the pot?
Yeah, I know. The thing is, I keep on talking.
Y'all know about the pot.
Right, and I can't talk too much about it. So, no, but yes.
Ceramic pot.
Yeah. And just to add on, you did say something about, I don't know who said it was. I know it was a front row, and I'm sorry, I don't remember. But you're right. A lot of our homes are non-occupied. A lot of our homes are seasonal. A lot of our homes have property management, and that's what makes getting a victim so hard. And that's why I tie in and report everything, because everything is connected to everything. I know it's not a cliche, but it is. It really is. The island is small. Corpus is small. The world's small in respect because people don't move around that much. They have the same needs and wants, and all we need to do is just kind of figure out their patterns and know what they want and what their habits are, whether they're good or bad, and their decisions are, and then we tailor it to that, and that's why we get leads to follow up on. I don't care if you have surveillance video. Every surveillance video is good. Now, source, we tie it together like one of those pot ones. I saw the same vehicle, saw something on Nextdoor app because I'm a member out here. So I was like, I know that vehicle. Sure enough, we got the call, and I was like, I was in the right spot, the right time, and yes, we took care of the problem. But I do remember that morning, it was around 5:30, it's usually when they do most of our break-ins, 4:30, 5:30ish in the morning. They'll start to head out back in town or wherever they decide to live that day. And sure enough, I had a hard time finding the victim. I really did, because it was non-occupied, and later the next day, we had an out-of-state number, which I did call, but they're just out of another time zone. So we did end up making the case on it, and it did go to CID and everything else, and so I call it the Green Thumb Bandit too. Okay. But, because we have a Green Thumb Bandit, which I can say that. And I say that because he stole a pot from one of my friends too. Really nice cowboy pot. That, it's a cowboy one. But
That's
anyways.
the type of crime we like.
Well, that, and I'll mention another one because we'll all get a nice chuckle out of it, is yard decorations and yard lighting. And so things like that. But it's the little stuff. It really, really is. Because, I'll say it because it's very objective, I want to say it right now, is that the people that steal from us steal because we know they have nice things. We have nice things. We work for them. We're tired to live out here, to live in a nice community, to have nice things, to walk down our street without having a speeding vehicle or our stuff broken into. That's why I want to live out here too. It's plain and simple. But it's unfortunate that in this day and age, that we just can't have nice things. We have to close everything up, lock everything up, take everything out. And I stress this again, so we all go PSA right now, is don't leave a gun in the car, don't leave a gun in the car, don't leave a gun in the car, because too many guns are stolen. They really, really are. They're too easy to get. You know? Anyways, I'll take off that soapbox. But it's little things that we can do and report everything, because it's usually one or two people that come out here, will plague us with their stuff, and then they'll hit 20 cars, they'll hit 10 cars, because why? I talk to them personally, just like this. They just try and drive. That's all they do is go down the block. We've all seen on the surveillance videos. They'll just go on, check the doorknob, check the doorknob, check the doorknob. I guarantee you 3 out of the 5 cars are unlocked. Okay? And that's alarming. Okay? It really is. But that's just getting used to doing certain things that we're not used to right now. That's all. It's just changing habits. Because they'll move on to another area, which I don't want them to. I want to catch them, but the fact of the matter is, it's a property crime. It really is. To me, it's important. To us, it's important. That's basically what plagues the most of us out here. It's not. We don't have the other type of crime that we have in the city or in other areas.
So I have another question about your GSAT center. Where is that?
That is based out of Houston. So that operation is set up to where it can run anywhere in the United States. The technology that we have in that center, the power capabilities, hurricane, it doesn't matter. That operations room is still up and running. So we're based out of our corporate office, and we usually have anywhere from 7 to 8 operators in there at any given time, because we also do camera surveillance. So we have cameras out working with the Sheriff's Department for human trafficking, different areas inside of Houston that HPD monitors in our management districts for prostitution, sex trafficking, human trafficking. So we have operators in there all the time. So, but that room is based out of Houston. It works in our offices in San Antonio, Corpus, Houston, anywhere that we need to be. That is a control center, and it's based on a military background. It's all set up military style.
So are they answering calls and monitoring video, or just
We have
one or
different
the other?
people that do. We have different people that do different jobs. So we have operators that will take your calls when they come in. So they'll already know that you're calling in from North Padre POA. So the only information that you would need to give that operator is a brief description of what's going on. It's basically the same questions that a 911 operator is going to ask you. What's going on? What's your emergency? What's happening? What's a brief description of the incident? Where you're located? You know, pertinent information. At that point, the operators are trained. If it's above a certain water line, they're automatically going to be dispatching police, fire, or EMS, as well as our officers.
Are they still going to be instructing us to call CCPD?
No.
No.
Our operators,
They're gonna take
we
care of
always
it?
tell you, we always say dial 911. Okay, if you're in doubt, if we're out here patrolling for you, if you're in doubt, call 911 first. Okay, call us secondary. We're already here. Our response time is going to be within a minute anyway. So go ahead and call 911 if you don't feel comfortable. If it's something that is not above a certain water line where your life's not threatened, of course, call SEAL, and we're going to respond very quickly. But I always tell everyone, if you're in doubt, call 911. That's what the service is there for. And then have us call a secondary or call GSAT or Operations Center secondary, and the officer will be there within a minute.
What's, Officer Jenko, what is, how's that communication gonna work with your guys?
Sorry, the same way.
I mean, you're not gonna operate off the city radio system while you're out here working?
Yes, ma'am.
Or you will?
Yes, ma'am.
And they're gonna dispatch you?
They'll dispatch us because we log in, as per our policy, is that.
Even though you're off duty?
Yes, ma'am. We have to check in with dispatch. So, yeah, same thing. They'll just say, hey, they'll call by ID number. Hey, we have a call in your area. Can you take it? And then if it's within policy, we'll take it. We're still going to go anyways. We're not out there anyways.
Are they gonna call you instead of whoever is gonna be working in this area?
No, they'll still dispatch a primary beat car. They'll still dispatch a primary beat car, and then we'll show up too. Yeah.
So we won't have a direct line, like he's saying he has a direct line. We have a direct line to him, to his officers.
That is correct.
You're not setting that up, okay.
No, you won't. Not to us.
Yes, Officer Jenko, I appreciate your knowledge of the island. It's really great to have somebody on the force who is this knowledgeable as you are about what goes on out here. We really appreciate you and anything that you could do for us with regard to extra security controls, I'm sure we would appreciate it as well. Of course, the expense is a thing, you know, and like that. Now, as far as the steel group goes, you said that steel can respond to like a burglar alarm at a house. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it seal? It's seal, isn't it? Okay, like the seal team. Okay, yeah. Seal. Excuse me. Steel would be the opposite. That's what you're here for, isn't it? It's for the other side of it. Yeah. I might have said that on purpose. So anyway. So if you respond to a burglar alarm at a house, now I know what CCPD will do. If the garage door is open, you know, they'll get 2 officers and they will, enter the house. They'll secure the perimeter and enter the house and check it out as much as they can, and then push the button and run out, jump the beam, and duck the head and get outside, and the garage door is closed. Can SEAL do that as well?
As far as entering your home, CCPD enters your home,
yeah,
and will shut the garage for you and leave. Okay, no, SEAL won't do that.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
SEAL will show up to your home. If your burglar alarm's going off, they're gonna show up to your home. If you're there, it's a false alarm. Our operator's in contact with CCPD operator dispatch. They're gonna let them know there was a false alarm. But being that we're gonna be secondary behind those calls on your alarm system, CCPD is already gonna be notified, correct? So we're gonna show up. If the garage door is open and no one's at home, we're gonna secure the perimeter, secure the home until CCPD arrives. The last thing we want to do is enter your home, and if there's a crime scene in that home, can contaminate a crime scene. So we're not going to enter your home because I don't know what's in your home. You know, I don't know what's taking place. So we're going to wait for CCPD to come and deal with that situation, but we're not going to let anybody go and come from your home.
Okay, second part. So say if you see a suspect run out of the house or some other sort of crime, to what extent can you chase after that person?
He runs out of your house, he's got your TV under his arm, we're gonna chase him.
Yeah, and do you have to abide by the speed limit, or?
We're not gonna get in vehicle pursuits.
You're
We're
not
not
gonna
gonna
do
high-speed pursuits through your neighborhood.
Okay. Well, or even off, like if you see the person get in a vehicle and drive outside of the neighborhood and
we're going to already have dispatched CCPD and be in contact with CCPD, giving them a description of and license plate number of that vehicle.
Okay. So
we're not going to endanger anyone's life by chasing for over $100 item out of someone's home. We're not going to do that.
What if it's $1,000 item?
I'm still not jeopardizing anybody's life.
Yeah, okay. So you're not allowed to chase anybody?
Yes, we can. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I will not chase someone for an item out of your home that's of a monetary value and risk someone's life by getting high pursuit through your neighborhood. I'm not going to do that.
All right, I'm just trying to check your limitations. It seems like, you know, you need to, stay with the speed limit. You can't really chase them per se, but you can call.
I'm not here to replace law enforcement, sir. I'm here proactively to
deter crime from
the neighborhood.
That's what my question. That's the essence of my question.
Right.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. No seal.
As we all know, we went through a hurricane this past summer. and I guess I'm not real sure how I want to phrase this, but, and this is for both of you guys. Some people stayed, some people left. And people came back and it was just chaos. How are you guys going to be there, I guess, is how are you guys going to handle what we went through? I mean, are we still going to have the same level of patrols, protection prior to?
Like looter-wise?
Yeah, looters coming over the bridge, and how are you guys going to protect us when some of us are here, some of us aren't here? We don't have electricity, we may not be able to have phone service to you guys, so how is that going to?
Well, our dispatch will still be up and running, and our officers will still be here. So if you're contracted with us and it's physically possible for our officers to be on this island patrolling, we will be patrolling for the same amount of hours. And if we need to extend hours or whatever we need to at that time, then that's a discussion that can be had. But if we can physically be here on this island patrolling our contract, we will be here because our comms will be up and running. I'm not worried about a storm or a hurricane, and we're geared for that. We're set up for that. So, and the communities that we normally patrol during hurricanes or tornadoes or whatever the case may be, our guys are still actually actively patrolling. In a lot of communities, we even took it on ourselves to throw more officers into a certain community on our dime. And that's what you get as far as our company. If we're not here to just take your money. If we're not doing, or if we need extra manpower and we're not geared up enough, the money is secondary to what I'm going to do to take care of your neighborhood. And that's a commitment I'll make to you right now. That if we have issues that happen here, you're not going to be left in the dark, and I'm not going to just leave one guy patrolling when I need two for a certain amount of hours during the day to take care of an issue. And that's a promise that I'll make you right now, is that we do it in all of our neighborhoods. We have rapists in our neighborhoods that come into our neighborhoods. I have to put unmarked cars out. I have to put level 4 officers out that are unmarked to try to catch these people. And that's the commitment that you get from us. Now, if it becomes a problem where we see that we need more than one officer patrolling, more than 2 officers patrolling, we're going to bring that to you and say, look, this is the issues that we're having here, the incident's taking place, here's the justification. We need another officer. It needs to happen. So, I mean, we're going to do everything we can to live up to our part of this contract, even if we have to throw additional manpower at it from time to time during issues like what you're talking about.
And Officer Jensen?
Quick question.
Well, my answer is not that good. Okay. Okay. You won't have us out here because we're with the city. And I'll be honest with you, again, every city employee, especially, we're all central employees, you're going to lose us. You're going to lose all the off-duty you have from us. You will. Because we're going to be assigned to, like I was assigned to the mall, then I was assigned to the FEMA Dome at Delmar, and then we rode 2-man for, I think, 4 or 5 days, and then we worked, I think, 14-hour shifts, 12-hour shifts at least minimum, and we rotate that way. And so we go to a whole new different level of response. Even our priority calls go differently too. So we won't go to, we will go to property crime, but it has to fit. So we have to be very careful with our resources for obvious reasons. Trees are going to go down, power lines, but yeah, you'll lose our off-duty because everyone's going to be an essential employee. And so all of our off-duty, including me and anyone else that wants to work here, that I'm choosing you with, yeah, we're going to lose them too.
I have a quick question, please, before we go on. You have a dog. Does either group have a boat? Because we have problems with people coming in boats and stealing kayaks, GPS things, all that sort of thing, and leaving the boat. What could either one of you do to help us with that situation? Thank you.
The boat thing is unique. It is, and I'm fully aware of what you're talking about. I don't have a boat, nor do the people I'm going to have working for us have a boat either. So I don't have any. Besides that, we're not going to do, I think for me, for at least what I can offer you, doing the patrols out here is enough. I can't advance to that level. I just can't. I don't have the resources. And if I did, it's a whole new level. So I couldn't do that for you, I'm sorry.
Well, we currently patrol some privately held communities in Houston, one of them being Town Lake. It's about a 500-acre lake. We can actually do water patrol. That's a separate part of the contract. Of course, the boat's included in that, along with the commissioned officer patrolling on the boat. But that is something that, being a private company, we can get very creative on the type of security that we do, okay? And just so happens that some of the communities that we do patrol are boat patrols. And so if that is something that you guys want to add, there is just like with a patrol vehicle, you're going to have a patrol boat, so there is additional cost to that. But that is we do have that capability.
We have time for just a couple of more questions. Anybody?
I've got one over here.
Go ahead.
Okay, I don't need a mic.
Nobody needs to.
I think probably the SEAL organization is probably one of the best organized, most professional that I've seen. My kudos go out to CCPD also. How much security do we need here on the island? Nobody's asked, what the hell is this going to cost?
It's right here.
Now, as I recall, SEAL does have a formula. They suggest one officer on patrol per 1,000 people in the neighborhood or something of that sort. I've got one of those. But we don't know what this is going to cost. We've got a lot of questions here. I put some figures together once on $35 an hour for patrol officer, which includes the car. I gave the P9 also. And on the basis of one patrolman per 1,000 people, it came to somewhere, listen to this, and this maybe is a question for Becky. It came somewhere about $100,000 a year to as high as possibly as $300,000 a year. Are we willing to spend that much money just because people don't lock their damn car doors? That's my question. Sergeant Janko, isn't it? Sergeant?
Yes.
Sergeant, you stated that most of the crime out here, I know there's dope, and there's some malicious banging on houses, et cetera, et cetera. I read the crime reports. But most of the crime out here that I think we're here for is because people don't lock their car doors. Period. And I think, Sergeant Jacob, you mentioned this yourself. So do we want to spend maybe $150,000 a year on security? I don't want to. We've got CCP as our police department. Okay, we're paying taxes. We're paying for that protection. If there are people being beaten up outside their front door on a regular basis, if cars are being stolen from our driveways on a regular basis, if there's a lot of breaking and entering into our homes out here, I'm sure CCPD will handle it. If they don't, then we should fire our councilman. And incidentally, he told me, Ray Smith, I believe his name, he told me that he personally talked to the police chief. And the police chief said, I think we're going to have to take her. That was months ago. That's when we got the bike patrol and all that business, which I don't know if it's still out there. But how much are we willing to pay? A lot of good questions here. You never have too much security. You invite a policeman to stay overnight. Eat him dinner. What the hell? That's all I got to say. Thank you for the SEAL organization. I'm sure there's some neighborhoods where they wish they could have you guys.
Thank you, sir.
I grew up in South Central LA. That's where we wish you had you guys. But we do have CCPD here, we pay taxes. Let's utilize our police department. Thank you.
What's the proposed annual cost, the actual cost that you guys are? No, that's by hour. Have you calculated what the annual cost?
54,600 for one person to seal. 72,800.
Is it more for the, to have a canine in the car? With the officer?
That's just part of our package.
That's part of it?
Yeah, and the reason why we do that is because a lot of the areas that we see in communities, driving up and down the street is great, all right? It gives you a lot of visibility and patrols. But how much of your community can you actually patrol without that getting with that patrol vehicle, where can you go, and how much of that area is never seen security because you can't drive a vehicle there. I don't know a lot of officers who get out and do foot patrols by themselves at 2 or 3 in the morning, but with our guys, that's part of our program, is that they will get out, you know, with that canine. So it's just part of our package, because if I don't include that service for you, you know, I wouldn't blame Sergeant Janko or any of my officers either for getting out by themselves and foot patrolling an area without one.
Sorry, I jumped in on your question, Travis. I'm sorry.
Question: how successful have you been in deterring crime where you currently are, whether it's Harris County, preferably in an area a little smaller than some of the areas in Harris County that are more like here?
I think if you look at our stats on Google, and you look at some of a lot of media attention that they've done as far as for SEAL in the communities, Sharpstown, for instance, we reduce their burglaries and car vandalisms within the first 6 months of us being there, almost in half. So, and that's a 5,600 acre community. And it's just because you're increasing that visibility of those patrols. So when you talk about a smaller community where you guys, you know, the worst thing that we hear is, hey, backing out of the barn, almost hit a SEAL officer. That's how often you see them, because they're nonstop patrolling. Because they're GPSed every 4.5 minutes, they're continually moving. So our patrols are highly visible, and so they can't help but deter the crime, you know, in that community. Because they're going to go somewhere. They're going to commit the crime. They're going to go somewhere that they don't have the visibility.
So do you have any information on cost savings to a community, or any residual insurance premium savings?
We don't.
Because of that?
No, we don't keep that kind of data. The only thing that I can tell you is that, you know, if you decide to go with SEAL, we have a yearly contract that we'll put out there. But, you know, our program is, if you don't like what we're doing, you can cancel that contract in 30 days notice for any reason whatsoever. So we really have no communities that have started with us that have canceled. And that's been over the last 7 or 8 years.
And are your guys local? Like, do they live in the area?
Mm-hmm. They don't live on the island.
No, but I mean just in this area. And then if they can't come to work, where are you pulling those other resources to fill in?
I have over 200 officers that I can have here. We have an office off of Upriver Road there here in Corpus. But I have officers in San Antonio, at Houston. I can bring officers in within 2 hours.
All right, last question.
What about beach patrol? Because, I mean, like, you know, we have some of the community extends over getting close towards the beach and stuff like that. And a lot of us like to go on the weekends and stuff like that. Would there be any protection against, you know, possibly?
If it falls within the contract, the boundary lines of North Padre POA, then we can control it.
All right. A lot of great questions tonight. This is wonderful. We thank you all very much for being here.
Thank you.
And not only do I want to thank the officers, but I want to thank y'all. We have had several kind of meetings for different things, and our numbers are usually kind of low. And tonight I'm very pleased that we have over 30 people here. So I would like to see over 100 people, but we're growing. So please help us when we have these events to get the word out. It's a lot of information sharing, and so I thank you all also for being here. I do have one more little thing that I want to go over with you that deals with compliance. So y'all are.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm going to sit down since I've been standing. One of the things that we hear a lot from members is that, well, we know the compliance department, the issues, needs to have some work. We have guidelines to go by, and we work with that. But we hear from y'all quite often that I have reported this house 15 times and it still looks the same. what are you going to do, or what have you done? So behind the scenes, a lot of times, you don't realize what is going on. So I wanted to share a little bit about what happens. So if we get a phone call, then we go out and we look at the situation. We take pictures so that if we share those,
The second one is on.
So we have that picture as a guideline to talk to the homeowner about, so that we can be on the same page. So they're seeing what we're seeing. This is what the call was about. This is what the concern was. And sometimes we look at it, we talk to them, and we don't see an issue. But a lot of times we do. So at that point, when we talk to them and a letter gets written and it goes to the property owner, then it tells the property owner in that letter what the issue is. A lot of times we include those pictures so that they can see that. And we have a 15-day span of time to give you to take care of whatever that issue is. Now, I know a long time ago the letters were a little bit different than they are now. We try to make them a little bit softer. We talk to people, and if they say, I can't do it in 15 days, I don't live here, I've had back surgery, something's going on. If they talk to us, tell us when is the convenient time for you so that we can put that down and know when to check back with that system to see if it's been done. So we don't want to be unreasonable with it. After the 15 days, if we're going with that, on the 16th day, our program tells us, we get a little flash, and it tells us the time has come, you need to look at it again. So we go out, look at the situation, take additional pictures so that we can compare to see if anything has been taken care of. If it still is an existing problem, then another letter goes out, and that property owner has 30 days to take care of the issue. And that's a long time. And you're looking at whatever it is was the issue, and so you're thinking we're not doing anything on our side, but this is the process that has been developed. Whether it's what we want to keep or what we want to improve, or we want to blow it totally up and start over on something. But that's what we have, that we follow those guidelines. After the 30th day, it's looked at it again, and if nothing has changed, that's when the fine process goes into place. And so every 14 days, the computer generates a message for us, and there's a fine. Then 2 weeks later, there's another fine. 2 weeks later, there's another fine. And sometimes that can go on for a very long time. We're doing what we're allowed to do. We can't knock on the door. We can't tell you, here, pay your fine. But what happens is, when that home is sold, then the fines come right off the top of the sale of the house, and then the POA receives the money for the fines. So that can take a long time, or it can take a short time. But those are the things that go on behind the scenes. So a lot of times we're not ignoring it, we're not doing something, and I'm not going to go and discuss with you and say, oh my gosh, Becky Perrin's house looks so bad.
Well, we didn't want to say anything.
I know, I'm trying. But we try to keep that confidentiality between the property owner and take care of it. Like I said earlier, it might not be the best system. It's the one we have. We know it needs some improvements, and we're working in that direction. But just so that you don't think that we take the phone call, thank you, hang up, there's a file that's created with that phone call. And so we move through that. Today I spoke to someone that had received a letter, and his question was, how do I know you've stopped the fines? How do I know that I think I have corrected the problem? But I've not gotten a letter or anything. So that kind of triggered to me what we need in our computer system is we now need something that's going to generate so we can let that person know, thank you very much for taking care of this. And yeah, we're on the same page, you're good, we're good, and go from there. So that was just something that I discovered today, that I think we need to put something in place to let that property owner know you've done what you need to, and we can close out the thing. We close it on our end, but we never told them. So we need to look at doing that. But we could have a town hall meeting and discuss compliance for more than an hour and a half. We could do it for a very long time. So I just wanted to spend a little bit of time this evening just kind of educating you on some of the things that we deal with behind the scenes. And, you know, we have 5,401 properties. We have 2 people in the compliance department. When y'all call us and tell us that there's an issue, we appreciate that because that helps us to know where something is and we can address that. Yes, we do go out, we drive around, but those 2 officers, I'm sorry, not officers, inspectors, can't be out 8 hours a day driving around. They've got paperwork, they've got the pictures to download, they have the files to create and check back up. So we really do rely a lot on y'all to help us out when there's an issue out in the area. So thank you for helping us with that. And I hope that this is a little bit of information that tells you what is going on. And you're welcome to call and say, you know, I complained about that house, is anything being done? My response, I'm going to look it up and I'm going to say, we are in the process of the steps that we follow. So I'm not going to say, oh yeah, that person's house looks terrible. You know, I'm just going to kind of let you know.
Can you say where? They're in their 15-day or they're in their 30-day, can you?
I think it's really just best to let you know that we are following the process. You know, and I'll look at it because I can pull it up and tell where we are. And so it's like we're moving in the direction. But to really start giving people a lot of information about somebody's spines and stuff like that, I feel a little uncomfortable telling you where we are with that person. But I will let you know, we're at the beginning, we're at the end, we're closing it down like that, but not tell you, oh, we find them 3 times, or something like that. So, but that's just kind of a little tidbit information for you to know about compliance. And again, I thank y'all so much for being here tonight. It was really nice to see a larger crowd than before, and keep coming. Oh, one more thing. We have written and put together a hurricane manual that's in draft form. Got a couple of people looking at it, helping out with that, and a bulkhead. And it's not just about how we repair it, but it's an information to let you know. And if you live on a bulkhead, you probably know some stuff. If you don't live on a bulkhead, you know we spend a lot of your money on bulkheads. So this manual is just going to give you some information about what goes on with the bulkheads, how it's constructed, what to look for. And so those 2 manuals will be available soon for you to take a look at. And I was talking to Marvin earlier today. I would love to do our hurricane plan and just spend an evening like this talking about the hurricane plan. And this manual is a bit different than the one that we had made previously. And it really is going to address what you, as a property owner here, need to think about. Some of you, if you've been through a hurricane before, you're going to say that is old information and I don't need it, and that's fine. Some of you are going to say, hey, I didn't know that, and I hope you get something out of it. And others we run into are people that are new here and they've never been through a hurricane and they are scared to death to even say the word hurricane. And so the manual is going to help them out a lot. It has numbers in it, if you don't have electricity or whatever, but hopefully your cell phone will let you make some phone calls, but it's who to call, it's your AEP numbers, it's your phone company. So it's going to give you a list of information that could possibly be very helpful for you. Also, if you leave and come back, you don't want to just barge into a home, because if you have gas heating, you need to be aware there's some steps you need to take before you start going into a vacant home when there has been some kind of disaster in the area. So I hope that even if you've been through a lot of hurricanes, there's going to be something in this manual that you're going to pick up and say you didn't know. So again, that'll come out for you very soon, and we'll be doing more things like that and getting people here to volunteer to help put these things together so that we have information to answer a lot of questions that are going on with living here on the island, because it's a little bit different than living OT. So thank you very much for being here tonight.
Good to meet you, sir. Yeah. Well, I try not to hide. I'll be Come to some more meetings.
Starry, starry night.